I can't believe we're back talking about Johnny Somali. I missed him. I missed him so much. I'm so glad we're talking about him again. When is his trial? When is his actual trial? Not this secret trial that went down where he was trying to get this small little victory where he's, you know, not going to do 10 years. He's going to do 8 years. By the way, I don't know how many years he's going to get. I don't know what the maximum he's facing right now is. I'm just saying that as an example. Like, he's still getting time. He's just getting a little bit less time. Honestly, I kind of think that he's not going to get any time, and kind of this process is going to be the punishment, and then they're just going to kick him out of the country and not let him back. Hopefully, that's at least what happens. I don't know, man. I don't know. Governments are kind of incompetent, but still going to laugh at the situation because this dude's an absolute fucking moron. The judge just humiliated Johnny Somali in court for lying. How about that? Let's check it out from a Tozy.
The judge just humiliated Johnny Somali in court after it was extremely obvious he just kept lying in court.
Yep.
Thus, committed perjury. And this is just an insane update revolving the whole Johnny Somali criminal trial. But this court hearing that we're talking about today is actually a completely separate trial than the main one that we've been covering for roughly a year now. All right, so we now are about to walk into the Johnny Somali case. Most people don't know about this, but we were lucky enough to get the information from one of the other Korean streamers who essentially was indicted, and now a bunch of them have to testify, including Johnny Somali. So this will be interesting to see what happens. Up until now, nobody knew about this new trial except for the internal circle of the Korean streamers involved. And this is because Johnny pressed charges on another Korean streamer. And the reason Johnny did so was because Johnny showed the deepfake first, and then Youngman found out there was a deepfake of him making out with Hank, Johnny's friend. And obviously he was very upset about it, so he then showed the clip on his stream while he was venting about how he felt like this was disgusting, that this was done without his permission. But that turned out to be a massive mistake for Youngman to do so. And Youngman, he has a good lawyer and a good strategy. But he's currently in prison, and he's coming as a defendant because Johnny filed this charge against Youngman to essentially lower his own sentence because he wants Youngman to drop the...
Yeah, by the way, Youngman is, whatever his name is, I don't know how to pronounce it, is in prison because there were some riots and he was throwing bricks and stuff at a courthouse. Like, what the fuck? Like, I don't know what to say, man. I don't know what to say about that. I guess get owned. If you're gonna crash out and be a fucking idiot, I guess you deserve it.
Charge against him. The goal here is to essentially get some sort of legal settlement. What he's missing, though, is South Korea really wants you to apologize formally. And Youngman has formally apologized to the courts 5 different times by handwritten letters from jail. And Johnny so far hasn't apologized a single time.
Yeah, because he thinks that he's done nothing wrong.
And the worst part is, Johnny has pleaded not guilty for doing the exact same thing that he's pressing charges against Youngman for doing. Because remember, his whole defense in the last court date I covered was, I didn't make...
Dude, he's actually a fucking idiot. Holy shit. Like, oh, I didn't do anything wrong, but this guy did, even though he did the exact same thing I did. But what I did, it wasn't wrong because I did it.
I may have just distributed them. We know for a fact that Youngman did not make these. All he did was show it on his stream. So he just distributed them. He didn't make them. So make it make sense. This is just extremely hypocritical. And I really don't think that's going to help his current criminal trial. But once we arrived at court, we found out that Johnny is pressing charges against Youngman for a whole plethora of things, not just the deepfakes. So obviously, deepfakes...
I think maybe Johnny Somali has it in his head that he can do this, and the other guy can't because the other guy is Korean. And Johnny's American, and we can do that in America. That's not how it works when you're overseas in a different country.
Expected that, but the new ones were stalking, which is okay, and assaulting him with a baton.
So this one started with the deepfake, and then they added the baton in like May, and then added stalking in August.
Who's the first witness?
Hank's the first witness. So Hank is the first witness.
Hank's the first one. Hank, you, Ramsey Clayton, Ismail, and Big TV.
Okay,
We're gonna hear
those
from
3 guys. Very interesting.
So Hank's supposed to be the testifier, and Youngman is standing on
the stand.
Yeah, on the stand.
These are more serious charges against Youngman.
Yeah.
Second, third, fourth offense. Of course, he documented everything. He live streamed everything. It's still there for you to go and see.
Youngman did say he
So.
hit Ramsey with the baton.
Shall we?
Yeah.
Silence your phones.
Crazy.
Which is extremely rich coming from Johnny, because he was the one who showed the deepfakes first.
It's funny that he says the word rich, because that's exactly what Johnny Somali is trying to be, and he's not ever gonna be.
While bragging about it, he was the one who live streamed himself stalking the female streamer Nanati. And of course, Twiddledee and Twiddledum here were the ones who brought the baton to the fight.
That's a baton. Young man picked my a baton up.
Yeah, he fucked up. He's like, pick my a baton. All right, dude. Fucking cooked.
So, on October 22nd, the people who testified were Hank Yu, which is, you know, Johnny's only friend here in Korea, Johnny Somali, or Ramsey Ismail, and Bang TV. Quick lore dump. Bang TV is a Korean IRL streamer who is one of 4 people involved with trying to stop Johnny from harassing the citizens of South Korea for content. This South Korean streamer clique consisted of Dagun, who infamously punched Johnny, Youngman,
yeah.
who is the man involved in the trial right now, but also is currently in prison for throwing cinder blocks through the courthouse windows while Seoul was under martial law.
It was cinder blocks, not bricks. Okay, that's fucking ridiculous.
On December 3rd, 2024. Clearly that wasn't a great idea. And then you have 2 other streamers by the name of J Company and Bang TV who are currently not wrapped up in any legal trouble. But Bang TV was called as a witness today as he witnessed what happened revolving the alleged baton incident. So we got to court, went into the courtroom, and I was getting ready to make a little sketch, and then we found out that Hank and Johnny, they felt humiliated about the deepfakes, and they requested privacy for their testimony. They can do this because on this specific trial day, they are the victims.
Oh, we found out that they're in what, protection?
Yeah, they're-
witness protection.
Yeah.
Because young man is so scary.
Yeah, basically they want to, you know, for the safety and like the security of the witnesses, they're sequestering everybody. So
Interesting.
they're keeping them separate. That's so it's also a good thing because they're going to keep them separate for us.
Yeah.
We'll just watch the show. So.
Interesting. So we just found out that Johnny's actually getting 60,000 won to testify here. So now the guy actually has an income. 60,000 won is roughly, what is it, like 40 bucks, 50 bucks?
Holy shit. that sounded like a big number. 40 bucks. Wow.
Don't spend it all at once.
You have to pick. He probably
boy.
paid the plank right away.
No,
Right.
it goes to the soju fund.
Straight to the Soju Fund? Awful.
I think the last trial, everybody came, so I think they try to make it private.
Because
How many
Johnny
people
is
did
the
That Tectone?
victim, and therefore
That guy looks like
the victim
Tectone.
can ask, oh, I don't want this to
How many
be
people
open
came to
because
the
it's so
trial?
embarrassing to me, even though he's the one that put it on camera. So that's the situation.
You a clout chaser for who?
Cloud chaser for who? What do you mean?
Free Israel. Support the IDF.
That's all.
You know, he's saying that just to piss people off. That's exactly what he doesn't actually believe that.
You're an anti-Semite. I'm a Jew, and you are being anti-Semitic. You are
Yep. Okay.
So we then had to leave the room.
Dude's actual fucking retard, dude. Like, he thinks he's trolling, he thinks he's funny, but dude, he has completely cooked himself.
But that was fine because thankfully we were still able to find out exactly what was said regardless. Here's the TLDR of Johnny's testimony from our legal connections. They said, in quote, "It was so bad it could have been possible to acquit. He lied countless times. Repeatedly said that he didn't know / didn't remember to things that he clearly / probably knows. He avoided questions about having distributed on YouTube before Youngman. In quote, saying, police already verified I didn't make it. And then he fell back on the whole I didn't make it excuse over and over again. Because for some reason, he really thinks that production versus distribution is still relevant here. He then says that in November, Youngman made false accusations against Johnny. This is why he apparently filed the charge, which also admits transactional nature here. He also falsely claims that Youngman distributed first. He then lied to his lawyer on March 27th, said that both Youngman and Bongbong distributed first. And then he claimed that Youngman leaked his address, but also claimed he didn't know his own address, so he couldn't even confirm that he knew his own address to know that his address was leaked to begin with. Like, the whole situation was apparently just awful. Then to make things even worse for him, he couldn't remember the important details of the assault. And then he says he doesn't remember who brought the baton. That would be because...
Yeah, because he's just going off the top of the dome, and he's retarded. He's actually brain dead, so when he's going off the top of the dome, then everything that comes out is just shit.
It's very clear that Hank brought it. Then he also said, in quote, "The whole thing was so traumatic that I don't remember."
Yeah, like, he's not even keeping up with the case at all. He's just, I don't even know, man. I don't know what the fuck he's doing. He's just going. He's just going and going. Without a care in the world. I don't understand, dude.
And then says it was the scariest day of his life when Youngman found him. He also says that Gino was the only witness of the assault, and then tried to submit video evidence on the spot, which is improper procedure, because this should have been submitted to a prosecutor a long time ago. All evidence needs to be submitted up front. And then he admitted that he said, "Come find me," on both October 28th and October 30th, essentially inviting the Korean streamers to go find him. And then finally, he said he filed charges against 1 or 2 other people and mentioned Dagon, but not Bong Bong. So that's kind of interesting, because why would he say 1 or 2? Because we know he filed them against Dagon, but maybe the ones he tried to file against Bong Bong were not successful. Who knows, though? We're gonna find out in a few days. And then to make things even worse,
well, I guess I'm gonna see you in a few days again, Tozy.
First, for Johnny, the judge apparently told him multiple times that his story just didn't add up, and then kept asking questions Johnny didn't want to answer, because that would just make things worse for him. So obviously, that was a massive train wreck. But here's the notes from Hank's testimony. So Hank says he didn't know who Youngman is. But
Yeah, I think maybe I don't think Johnny Somali actually has a strategy, but I think his brain might have a strategy, but it's rotted, so it's not a good strategy. That try and make this as confusing as possible so nobody can keep up with it, and they just let him go because they don't know what the fuck they're doing. That's what he's trying to do, I think, but he doesn't even realize it.
accused him of
It's not
creating
gonna work.
deepfakes. He then also asked the judge why it took a month for him to sue, and then told the judge that the Korean law isn't fair to Johnny, so he doesn't trust the Korean criminal system, and thus thinks the case is not serious. Because obviously that's extremely relevant information when you're testifying. Like, dude,
Yep.
nobody cares what you think about Korean law. You're here to testify about this case. Get on with it. He also didn't give a straight answer when it came to the production of the deepfakes, and then stated that he had a desire to reach a settlement and essentially wants money. Which, you know, makes sense because it's not like Johnny is a cheap person to be harboring. And then he admits that he's only in this case because of Johnny. And then said in quote, "If Ramsey doesn't want to press charges, then I don't want to either." So that's interesting. You know, Twiddledee and Twiddledum, they did their thing. And it actually seems like it kind of worked out for them in the short term, because they also kind of kneecapped themselves by doing this. But then they called Bang TV to the stand, and here he says that Youngman showed the deepfake to explain to viewers.
Dude, these two guys combined have a deep winter IQ. Like, this is less than room temperature. This is deep winter IQ combined.
The crime committed against him. He then confirms that Johnny attempted to flee to the US after he was attacked. And
Of
then,
course.
on October
Yep.
28th, he challenged YouTubers to come find him, which obviously mitigates the accusation of stalking. And then he told the court why this group of streamers were actually tracking down Johnny. Because Johnny was harassing elderly, the Statue of Peace, he was trashing Korea, and he was treating Koreans like animals. He then explained that he never saw Youngman hit Johnny with a baton and saw no injury to Johnny. And when it comes to the deepfakes, he thinks that Johnny produced them, but knows for a fact that Johnny distributed them first. And our legal connections believe that the case against Youngman was crumbling, because the deepfake had circumstances similar to Bong Bong. Because Johnny seemed very malicious by showing the deepfakes. Both Bong Bong and Youngman were like, "What is this? This is awful. Why is this a thing?" Then for the stalking, Johnny said, "Come find me," which is a massive contradiction when, you know, he's claiming he's being stalked. And then for the assault, Johnny couldn't remember details. He failed to properly submit video
course.
evidence, and then they were the ones who brought the baton.
The only reason that he couldn't remember the details is because he hasn't been paying attention to this case. Or he's trying to make everything confusing on purpose, and it's just going to make everything last even longer, which doesn't make sense to me, because that means that he's just going to be involved in this much longer, and that the date that he is going to get out is further away.
So overall, it's an extremely weak case. But then the court called Johnny and Hank back to reach a settlement, because Johnny wants mutual withdrawal of charges, and Hank then backs down from demanding money. And Johnny says that he's willing to put this all behind us. And this is where they ended up settling this case, which ended up being a win for both parties in this particular trial. I even have the translated text of the initial settlement here, where the agreement says all their names, do not wish to pursue punishment for all criminal cases that have occurred between them. Obviously, this must be formalized to go into effect, but there's nothing really stopping this to do so. And we heard one legal opinion that Hank and Youngmong will still have to testify next week, but the odds of that happening are probably going to be pretty low. This is because in the last trial, he ended up pleading guilty when it came to the Lotto World incident, and then they ended up canceling the witness they had from Lotto World that was going to testify against him. But as of right now, Johnny is facing 2 deepfake charges, which are heavy-hitting charges, carrying a max of 7 years in prison for each charge. But with one of them being dropped, that's definitely a big win for him. But in doing so, though, he did commit perjury. So that could be a very nasty trade-off for him, which can heavily backfire, because now he's openly shown that he will happily lie to a judge. For Youngman, though, it absolutely does not make sense to risk fighting this case because he's already in prison. And all of those charges that Johnny tacked onto him could easily add a decade if he was actually convicted for all of this.
Actual fucking garbage move, too. That's like evil. That is so fucking evil.
And let's be real, risking a decade in prison to stick it to Johnny is absolutely not worth it. So trading 3 charges for 1 is definitely a big win for Youngmong. But as of now, we don't know of Bong Bong having any deepfake charges pressed against her. So for now, Johnny doesn't have the same leverage against Bong Bong as he did on Youngmong. So my understanding is he's facing a max sentence of 12 years due to the cap based on these charges.
That's
Even
such a long time, dude.
One deepfake charge, he's still facing a max sentence of 12 years. Although his minimum sentence has definitely been reduced now. But this just made this court case.
But he still has a minimum sentence. I think it's not going to happen. That's my prediction. But you know, maybe. Here's hoping that actual justice is served. But I just don't think so. I just don't see it.
Way more interesting because now, I guess Johnny finally locked in. Essentially, Johnny is playing a soccer match, and he's losing 7-0, and he finally scored a goal. So he did the lean forward and locked in mode, and now he definitely has a long uphill battle to see if he can get some freedom here. But I am definitely looking forward to seeing Bong Bong testifying in the next couple of days. But since I was kicked out of this courtroom, I wasn't able to make a court sketch. And last time I made one, I was kind of blown out of the water by how many of you guys actually wanted my sketch, as it was bid up to like $500 on eBay. I literally thought it was going to go for like 20 bucks because that's what I said in my last video. But if you want my original court sketch that started all of this from the original trial of Johnny, which was never sold before, I've made prints available here, right here at this link for $20. So because last time I was like, oh, you can get it for $20.
Great.
Now you can actually get it for $20.
Dude, that is so much better than all of the court sketches that I ever see.
Bucks. At the top of the link description down below.
I wish they were all like that.
So get them while you can, because I'll be removing them forever soon. And we also dropped a brand new Halloween 2025 collection on Matt.c.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Go get you one of those. Johnny Somali is so cooked. At least he's stuck in Korea having to do all this trial stuff. Even if he doesn't get any time, I'm at least glad that he's having to go through all of this, because what a fucking L. What a fucking L for the streaming world, an L for content creation, a W for everybody for him not being able to still crash out. I mean, at least we got that. But I think that nothing's going to be done, and he is going to crash out even worse than ever before. And it's going to be bad. It's going to be real bad. I can't wait to react to that content, because you know I'm going to be there. I'm going to farm that shit. Because really, all of this means nothing to me. Donate to the Fables Folly Farm.